IVM.
All right, Simplified is where they take stories that you can't understand and make it even more difficult to understand. If you need that in your life, it's called marriage. Simplified, 3 young men with a mission. Their names, Chuck, Naren and Sriket. That's right, simplify their names first. Simplify. New episodes out on the IVM podcast website, app or wherever you get your podcast from. कृपया ध्यान दीजिए, the language used on the podcast may not be fit for consumption. We warn you, tread carefully. But listen, yaar, don't be so conservative. Alrighty, it's time for Cock and Bull. Feel a little more positive today, although I think my test levels have gone up for some reason. I was just looking at old calendars of Kingfisher and reminiscing the old days when I was very close to the models, physically at the launches and all that. Those days are gone. But it's cheered me up, and my rant for the day actually is about learning something new. I've actually started learning an instrument. You may say I am an expert at the organ, but that instrument is a bit rusty. So I've moved on. I'm actually trying to learn the harmonica, the small little thing in Sholay, which Amit and Silverie play while singing Ye Dostri, that one. Unfortunately, I don't have a harmonica, so I'm doing it through what is called shadow harmonica. I will now play a couple of notes and then we'll start Cock and Bull. What do you guys think? It's called Cock and Bull.
Advertising is dead. Yep, you heard me right. Advertising is dead. We're all in the content business now. Let's not call it news, TV, radio, etc., etc. It's all content, and we're in the middle of this weirdly exciting phase where all the borders and lines that have been drawn over decades has been swept away by this lovely thing called the internet. We're a show where we don't dwell on just the stuff that is now, but rather the wider stuff about advertising, media, content, and the whole goddamn circus surrounding it. Tune in every Tuesday for our weekly unboxing of the mystery box we used to call advertising. I'm Varun Dugirala, co-founder and content chief at The Glitch, and this is my new podcast, Advertising is Dead.
Please go ahead, Silverie. It sounded like?
That sounded like classical Chinese music for some reason. Like dum 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 dum.
Yeah, they have those. There was light, quick notes. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
And our exposure, let's be honest, is from Chinese restaurants. How we stereotype everything. You go to a restaurant, dark lit, dimly lit. You have those same lanterns. You have that same sort of paraphernalia in terms of color schemes, and then you have this.
Exactly.
The color red in restaurants, I think, survives only in Chinese restaurants, right? Every Chinese restaurant must be red.
When you talk about racism and all, this is for me is much worse than, the basic racism that you practice when you abuse someone. Because at the end of the day, you just put it into someone's mind, these stereotypes. And we go to Beijing, God forbid not now, and you'll find it's nothing like that at all. You're completely misinformed.
I have not been to Beijing, so I do not know. But yeah,
well, I was actually planning a summer holiday in China. That was the idea. With all that culture and history. Yeah, well, now they are welcoming us with open arms. But as you know, luckily Mumbai airport still closed.
I saw something about that in the news today. They're saying that all you Chinese people in India come to China to be safe from corona. Or something like that.
Nice. That's nice. Listen, the Chinese community in India are beautiful people. They're the best in the world. We know lots of them in Bombay and Cal. And I have to tell you, I'm looking forward to a global world where we are not defined by race and religion, all this or height or weight, but by the most important thing, length of your Sorry, it's unnecessary. What I meant was philosophy. We'll just be divided into liberal and conservative, if you want to put it that way. I think that's how the world will be divided at one point. But let's start our show formally. Silverie, let's get into good topics. This is, I'll give a title to the whole thing, which is, it's called, our news channels are enjoying this. It's like some people enjoy 2611. It's almost like they're relishing it. It's a terrible thing to say. There's a vulgarity about it. But it's like 4.0. We are now in 4.0. Oh, come on. It's not fun for anyone. And so while that's going on, I have a message to anyone listening. If it reaches 49.0, which will be my birthday in the latter part of the year, and your age and the lockdown is the same, that's when you got to take a look at your life and realize that this has gone too far. So 4's still small, but it's growing fast. What do you say, guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you gonna? It is. It's insane, right? What else can you say about this whole thing, right? It's just crazy.
No, I'll come back to the media for a second. I'm very disappointed. I know we are part of the fringe of the media and all that, but I talk to the people when we go once a week to shoot, and I talk to the anchors and the producers, and I really argue with them about this, But this is what do we do? This is what it is. But I said, you guys are always showing it almost. I don't want to use the word glamorizing it, but there's a sense of it now. It's a sense of, the excitement and all, which I...
So the first problem is the fact that we're treating it like a race of some nature, right? Everything is like, today this percent... It's not sensex. It's a different thing, right?
That's it. You're spot on that. That's it. That's it. That competitive urge.
Yeah. And it's, it is a serious issue that needs to be figured out and all that, right? But at the same time, there is this tendency towards treating it like a sporting event. There is this tendency towards but again, I think that holds true on all kinds of areas, right? Even the idea that we're going to resist this or we're going to beat this, it's all this is not sports, man. This is this is a serious kind.
So there's either that bravado or doom. There's nothing in between.
There's nothing in between.
And then the one way they want to cut away from this pain is to show you some two-bit celebrity singing a song, which is not bad once in a while, but after some time it's irritating, because it's like, what are they in a balloon, a plastic bubble of their own? What's going on here?
Yeah, it's man, I'm tired, dude. I'm just at this point. I'm just tired of all of it.
To take it from a comedic point of view, you're going from actual suffering, people dying, not getting beds, migrants, 40 million on the roads, all this, to rich celebrities pretending to suffer and show empathy. I don't know. After some time, it just... If you didn't like people before, after watching our news channels, you'll hate them forever. That's my point.
But I don't watch that many news channels, actually. I try to avoid as much of it as possible. I get my news, I go to 2 websites a day. I go to, I want to be informed, but I don't want to... again, the thing is that by following these on news channels, we're allowing ourselves to fall into that, following it like sensex or sports trap, right?
But Amit, you're like a single male. So I know what you're saying. You can just get the dose that you need, the facts and figures, and move on, make your own judgment.
Right.
Or go to a podcast that you really like, and you say, I want to, like Cyrus says, Cock and Bull, just to push the envelope. Who
Which
may have
you should get all your information.
The cricketer on it soon. But look at Silverie and me. So we are living in families. So when you live in families, the TV is a member of the family. And it's going to be on, because the oldies, me included, we need the TV. So the TV is on, and you're going to eat some of that in, and the dinner gossip and lunch gossip, and the conversation will always be like that. So we are not escaping it, and we are more like the rest of India. You guys get it easy. You're just you and mom, and you can sort of, keep it that way, so you can filter the stuff going in your head. But I can't. I'm bombarded.
No, you're right. I mean, but even I can't, right? I mean, there's just still so much of this stuff comes across you, right? I mean, part of the job is being on social media and paying attention to what's going on over there. And when you're doing that, it's television only, right? In some ways, it's the same kind of stuff. It's just coming at you from a different this. But at the same time, I do try and stay away from it as much as I can, because there's beyond a point, there's not that much to know, right? You want to know that, yes, is our infection rate increasing or decreasing? You want to know this. But beyond that, what can we do right now that is going to help us kind of deal with this, right? We know the safety issues. We know all of that. We've taken care of those things at this point, and we will continue to take care of those things as we go forward. But I mean, allowing yourself to, I watched Armageddon last night, because I was just I want to watch a stupid, mindless movie, right? And I watched Armageddon last night. I'm like, this is what I want to do. I don't want to... I don't want to watch the news.
I don't know whether that's funny in an ironic twist. I don't know whether it's a sort of reverse vulgarity. I don't know what you're trying to promote.
No. So I would not I have not watched Contagion. I have not watched Outbreak. I have no interest in watching these movies. Armageddon is a movie which is the most ridiculous movie ever made. I'm happy to watch that, right? It's a disaster which is so ludicrous. The solution of which is so ludicrous that it is fun to watch.
And handled over the top as well, I presume. Also, this whole Kali-Yuga factor, I don't know if you talk to the oldies, if I dare say so, who, this prophecy of because, the stories with the Pakistan, Karachi, Lahore, plane crashing and something happening in Denver, and, all kinds of disasters on the side as well. List of people we know dying. I mean, it's a little creepy. I just feel there's a creepy haze. The cyclone, how can I forget the cyclone? It's just this, where's the good news? It's one thing, then another thing, then another thing. It's like when I was trying to have an arranged marriage. Each woman was worse than the other. It just didn't end. Sorry, but she's there, so.
I think I hear what you're saying, but I mean, this is a terrible time to make the argument about how the world is safer than it's ever been. But genuinely,
and you made that just a year ago on our podcast.
I think that's still true, right? Because I mean, the mortality rate on corona is is incredibly infectious, but it's not that crazy a mortality rate.
4,000 and 1.3 billion as we speak right now.
Correct. And I think that...
which is what? Railway statistic in Mumbai. The trains run over 4,000.
4,000 a year. I think it's more than that.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not as deadly as you would look at, right? And I think that we've saved
Be careful,
lives.
Amit. That's a very controversial thing to say for the doomsday prophets.
No, but I mean, the thing is that the fact that we've been so tightly locked down and we've had so much kind of that we've all been in these kinds of shelter in place or whatever you want to call them, means that we've had so many other deaths that would normally occur be much less than would occur, right?
Okay, let's segue for a second on your same point. I'm asking you right now, look at US. Leave us for aside for a second. They're touching 1 lakh as we speak. I just saw the figure, 99,000.
They hit 100,000 yesterday.
They hit a lakh. All right?
So New York Times did a full 3 pages of just names.
I know. Okay, that's a tribute. But can you... so now 1 lakh is a serious statistic for America, who doesn't have as many train tragedies as us?
Well,
so put that in perspective.
It is serious. There's no question that this is a serious thing, right? But I think the part of the problem in the US is that there were no precautions really being taken at the time. We have taken some precautions now at this point. Spread is going to be there. We have to.
Or we don't have the real figures.
No, I don't buy that. I mean, I think that if we get into those conspiracies now, then we might as well.
There's no end.
Yeah. There's no this. Hey, we didn't prepare for the conspiracy episode. We really got to do that next week.
We have to do that. We will do that. But let's not focus on where we are because there's enough conspiracies, as you just said right now. No, my big worry is for example, they had this terrible September 11th, 2,000 odd people, close to 3,000 dying.
Right.
This is 1 lakh in about 6 weeks, which is... so after World War II or even Vietnam, perhaps, have they lost so many people?
They didn't lose this many. This is after World War II, the most in a single kind of thing.
So,
Vietnam, I think the total number of deaths were 50, 60,000, something like that.
And for that, they made about 74 movies, only 5 who are watchable.
But that's actually American deaths in Vietnam. If you count Vietnamese deaths in Vietnam, then that's a whole different thing, right?
Also,
if you count Iraqi deaths in the Iraq War, that's a whole different thing, right? Then at that point, this number is not that.
Right. No. So I'm just saying, so for them, it's a really scary statistic.
It is.
For us, as of now, not the worst statistic. Is that your point?
No, my point is that this is something we're going to have to live with. My point is that we have to just figure out the ways to live with it. I don't know what those are, but I think that the fact that this is not going away. The fact is that this is something which is deadly to a certain number of people, but it's not deadly to everybody. And I don't mean to be cavalier and say that let's just go expose ourselves. We have to maintain distancing. We have to maintain wearing masks in public, right? Is something that people are somewhat resistant to in the US. I'm getting such self-obvious messages on WhatsApp right now. Like somebody sent a message saying, "Don't jog wearing a mask." I'm like, no, Sherlock. When you're jogging, you're supposed to breathe in deeply, right? And you can't breathe with a mask. Of course, you can't breathe with it.
But the leader himself has said that the mask is not required for himself. So then when the leader does that, it's a bit tough for the others. I mean,
but that's the orange leader, no? That's not our leader.
Yeah, maybe, but I'm talking about them at the moment because my sister lives there, for example, and my nephews and nieces are American.
What's happening there is scary, man. I mean, I'm worried because now the places which are being somewhat cavalier about these issues, right?
Who didn't take it seriously initially are now getting the brunt.
Exactly. And they're the ones which are also ones which are more rural populations. They don't have same kind of healthcare like New York City, Washington, Seattle, which were the two big cities till now, right? I mean,
they have the preparedness.
Yeah, they have good medical systems over there, right? Whereas if you're in the middle of Oklahoma or you're in the middle of South Dakota, the your medical system is not that great.
For those listening who don't know America at all, and most of the people listening to this podcast have never traveled beyond Nepal, clearly you're talking about Oklahoma like it's Dharavi. A slightly difficult place to enter and exit.
But it's a poorer state. It's a more rural state. Urban clusters.
So Dharavi has more money than Oklahoma. Is that your point?
I do not know the answer to that.
Okay.
I really don't.
For another show,
I think that's doubtful. Yeah. Oklahoma has oil, so I doubt that Dharavi has more money.
No, Dharavi has money. There's no question. I know a couple of people staying there. One of your boys used to stay there.
Shravan stays there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Shravan stays there. But no, Oklahoma has oil, right? They have actual oil wells and oil fields and stuff like that. So I'm sure they have more money there in that sense.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be bad over there. It's going to be bad here, right? I mean, the way that we dealt with the migrant labor issues is going to lead to serious issues here as well.
My big
right?
worry is now everybody's only worried about Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Delhi, etc. But what if this is the beginning problem, and then the latter, more, I won't say whether backward, but less prepared states will suddenly feel the brunt later.
Right.
And then we're going to go round and round again.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's going to be a challenge, right? I mean, I worry about that, right? I mean, because...
Okay, Sorry. Let's quickly get into that whole train episode with Piyush Goyal versus Uddhav Thackeray.
That was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a strange setup. He's offered 100-odd trains, 135 if I remember correctly.
Right.
And Uddhav came back with 46 by 12:30 midnight last night at the time of this recording. Which, if you've got to send... Yeah, go on.
No, it was just strange, though. I mean, the whole thing is strange. If you're going to send trains, why are we not sending trains? And if we are going to send trains, why is Piyush Goyal talking to Uddhav Thackeray on Twitter instead of talking to him on the phone?
Yeah.
I mean, there's this degree of showmanship. Nicely put. There's a degree of showmanship over here, which seems like...
Whenever you're not in government, transparency is always good.
Yeah.
You see? When you're not in government, let's be transparent. This is the other guy's holding the ball. It's fabulous, yeah.
But they're both in government, right? I mean, one is central, one is state. Why are they fighting over this?
But in the blame game, he's saying... No, Piyush is saying, look, I've given you the trains. You don't want the trains. But you've got, if it's a market demand-supply situation, the demand is, and the supply, I'm giving you the supply, the demand is even more than that. So, what's your answer? And there is no answer. But is that really the story? I don't even know.
Honestly, I'm even confused about what these trains are exactly. What are these trains exactly, right? I mean, are they meant for migrant labor? Are they meant for starting I don't know.
Everything falls into it, but focusing on the humane issue, which is the migrant labor first, and heading all the people to different parts. For example, they were ready with 4 trains. The whole Bandra incident, most of the people are trying to go to Bengal and Bihar, that area.
Right.
Okay, the east, if you like. And now that's a bit of a difficult place to send the train because of the cyclone and the after effects of the cyclone. So, to cut a long story short, Malaika Arora cannot dance Chaya Chaya on a train going to Cal at the moment. So, without that, people don't want to board the train. But his point, if I take devil's advocate of the center for a second, their point is, look, we are giving it to you. Why aren't you filling it up? Why don't you want it? Why aren't you answering? Why are you being reticent? Now, I don't know what the reason is, but we are not hearing properly Uddhav's side of the story, because he's only done monologues. He's done no press conferences. He's only spoken to people in a general way and gone. It's a bit like how I like to do my Insta. I just like to talk and leave and not interact with people because then I have to press buttons and that takes hours. So that's the key issue. If you want to be open and apparently you have to talk to on a daily basis in this kind of crisis, and you have to tell us your views. Otherwise, we're getting Piyush, who's very communicative, very charming, and very elegant in his own way. And he's just saying, look, I put it all out there. Nobody wants to pick up the apples. The apples are here. It's like that. That's what we're getting out of it.
I still feel like, there's a degree of one-upsmanship over here, which is not needed at this time. I get that it's politics and it's all about kind of showing that we're better than you are. But this is not the time for this stuff, man.
There's no, what you're saying is your utopian values and views are out of the window for me. There's no way they can't politicize everything. Every thing in the country gets politicized overnight. They take sides over cricket matches, don't even start. So there's no way they won't do it. Yeah. And Mumbai and Maharashtra has been a bugbear, a thorn in the flesh. They won the election fair and square, then they lost the title. It's like, Ben Johnson winning and then being, evicted for steroids. Something like that, actually.
Well, that's true.
It's just going to play out. And as the months draw on and we go further on, human nature's worst side will come out, not better. I think better side already happened. 2 weeks of trying to help each other, 2 weeks of the government really caring, 2 weeks. Now, forget it. Everybody has to blame game. We can't solve the issue. Point your finger. That's what's going to happen.
I felt like my building guys were very nice about one thing. I need my AC to be serviced, and they agreed to let my AC service guy come in tomorrow.
Or let him stay with you forever.
Oh, no,
that's the other option. He comes in and never leaves. Listen, don't knock this theory. AC guy means more to you than your own wife.
Yes.
Okay? You will spend more time under your AC than under your wife. So it makes more sense for you to get the AC guy and make him stand near the AC and send your wife out. If you got the guts.
Did you guys also notice that some airports have opened up, but the mass confusion at the airports because all the flights have been getting cancelled? There was some 80 flights scheduled from Delhi, out of which some 60 or something ended up getting cancelled.
Correct.
Only maximum 50 flights, 25 going out, 25 coming into Bombay. It's like a whole
And
madness.
the procedure at the moment is a little, you're playing a percentage game. I take that. And you want to cut it down from 72% chance to 49% chance or something like that. Fair enough. But at the end of the day, you're standing behind a glass panel. The CISF guy is in front of the glass panel. You're showing your thing. It's all going to take more and more time. And I don't know how much you're going to benefit from it, because can it really stop this virus from spreading? Once you get inside the airport, you have to have human contact. You have to sit in the plane together. So it's a little bit, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too cynical.
But here's the thing as well, right? I mean, like, I don't know, man. It feels haphazard, right? I mean, like, why are planes started over all these things?
No, listen, Amit, we want to take this forward. We have to, as you said, live with COVID, then we have to live with COVID. But my worry is that what you said in the beginning is the only sensible thing that I can think of, which is we keep those with low immunity, high age group, low age group, and actual illness, diabetes, whatever, you keep them away. The rest go into the workforce, get the bloody COVID, deal with it, and get on with it. I can't see any other way to do this. And that means you just go to the airport, as long as you're fit, and you sit with other fit people and hope to God that nothing very untoward happens. You get it, you're out for 3 days, you're back home. That's it. I honestly, this herd immunity is the only... what else? How we go? Are you going to guarantee me that you cut it down from 84% chance of getting it to 57% chance of getting it because you sanitize my feet for 2 minutes? But I'm going to spend 5 hours going to Singapore with some, 250 people.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a plane with somebody, chances are you're going to get it, right? I mean,
That's
if somebody has it.
What if they sanitize my feet? If they sanitize my feet,
not really, because I mean, again, they did the vector tracing and stuff like that. So full flights where somebody was infected would wind up with like 15 to 20 people generally getting infected on that flight. It's not the entire flight that gets infected.
15 or 20 will cost a lot, as you know from the Tablighi thing that happened, etc.
Yeah, no, it's a lot, but I mean, like, out of 215, 20, that means 10% of the people in the plane get infected, not all. But still, I don't know, man.
Silverie, what do you think? You're the youngest person on the panel, long August panel of 80 people. Yeah. What do you think? Because we keep blaming the government. What we have to have solutions also. What do we think?
Yeah, exactly. They need to have a proper system in place because.
What is this proper system? You're sounding like a government employee. What is the system specifically?
At least, if you're cancelling something, inform the people that are cancelling it. People have been showing up. These poor passengers have been showing up at the airport,
and
that's the harassment. At the airport.
Silverie, that's the harassment factor. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I'm saying what specific points can we put in place, a process as you may call it, to go forward and live with COVID and continue with business and commerce and trade?
Masks are compulsory for everybody outside of the house.
That's a given. That's a given.
That's the first and foremost thing. But that's the big one, right? I mean, like, if you make it compulsory, I'm looking out of my window right now and I can see 5 people on the roads, right? And it's not like I live in like a very high traffic area. It's a fairly right? But I can see 5 people, out of which I can see at least 2 of them don't have masks on right now.
Yeah.
So masks need to be like absolutely compulsory, essential, no matter what, right? I think that's the first thing. Second thing is,
what if you're very attractive? Then you don't want to cover your face. No? There are a few people like... Would you like John Abraham to cover his face?
Probably.
Some would say he shouldn't cover anything.
Well, yeah, some would say that.
Yeah.
I guess.
Take your time and answer seriously in all earnestness. I really enjoy the awkward moments the most. Not just on podcast, but even in life. When you just say something wrong at the wrong time, like at a funeral, you say, "So what's for lunch?" And everybody stops. I love those moments.
That's a good question. Well, Gujarati funerals, lunch is thepla and shak.
Yeah.
I know the answer to that question. It always is the same.
For me, it's a very secular funeral because we go to visit someone and then Kunal will tell me, let's go for lunch. It's like that. But 5 minutes before that, it's like, he was a great man. Really fantastic. Why did God take him so early? Okay, what's for lunch? And that's it. That's us. Let's take a break on a slightly lighter note to this getting too much of a downer, this COVID, I think, all the time. And then when we come back, you'll hit us up with something interesting, Silverie.
Yes. I got some interesting.
Alrighty. So here we go. Break on Cock and Bull.
Beta, did you know 79% of all scientists in NASA are Indian only?
देखो, इंडिया में टैक्स सिर्फ मिडिल क्लास भरती है. Everyone is just enjoying free यार.
आजकल के youngsters are only interested in partying and enjoying. उनको देश की पड़ी ही नहीं है.
बेटा तुम बस शादी कर लो, उसके बाद तो you can enjoy life like anything.
I will tell you what this country needs. This country needs 15 years of dictatorship. That is the only way to become a superpower. See the Chinese, how much they've progressed.
सुनो, तुमने ये WhatsApp forward देखा?
So what's common between all of these statements?
They're all absolutely rubbish.
Fake WhatsApp forwards that spread like wildfire.
And statements that defy any logic.
We are here to debunk them all.
We're your family WhatsApp group's worst nightmare. We're what happens when you read a book.
Basically, we're just a bunch of guys who want to cut through the bullshit of everyone saying this, how it won't be true.
So that the next time someone confidently squeezes out some WhatsApp or Twitter BS, you can look them dead in the eye and go, Uncle, please sit.
So join me, Joel,
and me, Tushar,
every Mondays for a fresh new episode of Uncle, Please Sit.
And back we are on Cock and Bull with the great Silverie, my anchor, my love. My wife is still here, so not my love, just my anchor. What have you got for us? On week 10?
You guys want to start with something non-COVID related? Because we'll come back to COVID.
That's always a good thing.
Lovely.
I don't know if you guys heard this, but a huge thing in the world of podcasting, the Joe Rogan's podcast, the biggest podcast in the world, signed an exclusivity deal with Spotify.
For 100 million.
More than 100 million. 100 million is the purported amount they're saying, but it's definitely more than 100 million because he would have made 100 million in 3 years by himself. He was making 30 million a year anyway. So it's definitely more than like.
But the good thing is, I went to a lot of podcasts about it, and apparently everybody came to the figure that the share market price went up, and Spotify made 5 billion on the 100 million deal. Which now, if you can figure this out for us, and if we can just take out 1 0, we'll go with 10 million and let them make like 50 million, and everybody's happy.
Man,
what do you think?
It's I don't know what to make of it, right? I mean, like, it's a great deal for Joe Rogan.
There's also a big gap between Joe Rogan and the others, Joe Rogan is making this kind of money, but it's not lifted the market.
Well, so Joe Rogan is singular in terms of his audience and all of that kind of stuff, right? There's nobody quite like him. The second most popular podcast in the world does not do anywhere close
says. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Cyrus says is
third.
Probably third, yeah. But the second most popular one doesn't do anywhere close to the kind of numbers that he does, right? I mean, and it's a singular audience, so. Makes sense for Spotify to buy the audience in some sense, right? I mean, like, Spotify is going to move that.
And also that means they leave YouTube and all the free to air, whatever you want to call it.
Right. So he's going to go off all that, right? And that's
so will they all come with him, all those listeners?
Well, so that's the question, right? I mean, like, will they? Because I think that a big chunk of Joe Rogan's audience is a YouTube audience, right? Yeah. And I see mostly so I don't listen to Joe Rogan full episodes because they're long and they're like a lot. And I'll listen to them if there's like a great guest who I want to listen to.
If it's a topic that you really like, but I don't know whether his key areas are any of your topics. But for me, almost all of them are.
So I enjoy Joe Rogan. I like a lot of the stuff he talks about when he's talking about political stuff, when he's talking about cultural stuff. I like all that kind of stuff. I'm not big on the MMA stuff, which he does have a lot of conversation about.
Stand-up comedians.
I love stand-up
slightly
stuff.
anti-women diatribes happen. Sexism in some form. A great proponent of hunting.
Yeah.
Yes.
And living in the outbacks and wilds and this. Whole macho side is there to him.
Yeah. Which, elk meat. A lot of elk meat eats.
which I think Russell Brand called blue-collar workers of America, who are actually more intellectual than the stereotype allows them to be. They find his voice right for them. And that makes a lot of sense because you want to be an intellectual, but you have a job capacity which is not that. And so you do it through Joe Rogan.
No, so I like his show a lot, but I think a big part of his audience is his YouTube audience, right? That JRE clips.
You and me.
Yeah, that's why. Whenever I watch Joe Rogan, I watch him in those 7-minute, 10-minute, 12-minute, 15-minute clips that come on YouTube. I never listen to the full 2-hour episode, right? I've maybe heard like 7 of his full episodes when there's a guest who I really like, right? Like I heard one with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I heard one with this guy, Dave Chappelle, I think was on it once. I heard that.
No, Chappelle is not. Kevin Hart was on it.
No, Kevin Hart was on it today.
No, he was on before also. This is the second time. This is the second time.
I'm sure he's got all the big comedians on at some point.
Yeah, exactly. So I like listening to that kind of stuff. So occasionally I will listen to those full things.
Then he also calls out people who criticize him. Those are fun episodes.
They are.
There was this one journalist, I think from Washington Post, I'm not sure. So that kind of thing.
Richard Dawkins on, like the guy who wrote the God Gene or whatever that was called, the atheist, the famous atheist, right?
Yeah.
So I like listening to it, but I prefer Joe Rogan in those small clips. Now I get to those small clips by going to YouTube.com once in a while, and then YouTube's algorithm suggests, why don't you watch this, or why don't you watch this, or why don't you watch this, and that's how I kind of build my watching of Joe Rogan, right? And so he's going to lose all that.
But guys, with all that money that he will get, because it's a money thing, whether he loses the fan base or not,
it is.
Will he pay for a wig or will he stay like that? That's the question I've been putting out there.
He's not paying for a wig.
Yeah.
He's very much bald and proud, man.
Yeah.
I know the feeling.
Anyway, somebody once wrote to us that I'm like a Garibo ka Joe Rogan Indian version, and 3-4 things that we have in common was mentioned. I'm hoping that that guy's lovely thoughts come true. And,
I hope so too.
Yeah, and if not Spotify, who's the other player who we can lean on?
Savan and Ghana and YouTube and
what about someone from Japan or Korea? I feel that I have a stronger connect with them. A bunch
of the Chinese apps are also doing a bunch of stuff.
China. I hate those silly songs that they play in Indian restaurants. That ding 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 music that we mentioned before. Yeah.
But I wonder but Joe Rogan's audience, right? I wonder if he's really going to be able to kind of move that audience forward, because if it's a YouTube audience, are they going to move to Spotify? I don't know the answer to that. Also, Apple Podcast
That's the punt they've all taken.
So Apple Podcast is big in podcasting, right? So his regular big podcast listening, a lot happens through Apple Podcasts.
Right.
Now, a lot of people who have Apple Podcasts are also probably using Apple Music, right? Yeah. Because it's a great experience on the iPhone. Now, are those people going to get Spotify as well? Some of them will, some of them won't. He's going to lose audience. And we've seen this in the past, right? Howard Stern, when he went from public radio, right, from generally syndicated across the country, he went from 12 to 15 million listeners a day to less than a million listeners a day right now on Sirius. Now, he's making $60 million a year for being on Sirius, but his numbers are a lot lower. So, I mean, that's led to a lot of...
The question we have to ask him is, seriously? I mean, ridiculous.
But also, Howard Stern is behind a paywall. Joe Rogan will still be free. That'll make at least a huge difference. Yeah, but to some extent.
But Sirius is a paywall in theory, yes. But Sirius is also something that comes with almost every new car that is bought in the US.
Oh,
okay, but can we do one thing? YouTube's loss could be Apple TV's gain or Apple's gain if they sign us up. I'm just putting it out there.
They should do this.
There are 1.3 billion people in India, and some of them will be alive by next year. So it's important that they corner the market now while we offer them a special rate. Silverie, you start negotiations with Apple, YouTube, what was the other one? Spotify, Ghana, Bana, whatever the hell they are, and all the Chinese groups.
Yeah.
And let's see what comes off.
We'll go to them all.
I think possibly what might have been it is the YouTube terms of service. Joe Rogan has had problems with the terms of service for a while now because
they curtail his speech. Yeah, that's
exactly. True. Yeah. So this I think could be a part of it also, where he's like, now I control the entire narrative because
or is Joe Rogan believing his own myths slowly that he's such an influencer that he starts getting to you and you start thinking you're Jesus and more, and before you know it, it's like, how dare you tell me what to say? I think this happened with all of us. After 3 years on television, you start arguing.
Spotify has a content policy as well. And somebody asked that question to the Spotify corporate person that, are you going to be okay with all this controversial stuff? Especially pertaining to interviews with figures like Alex Jones and stuff like that. And Spotify, the spokesperson very clearly said that all content that comes out from Spotify must follow our content guidelines.
So, But obviously they're going to bend that bucket a little bit for this guy and allow him to have his strong views, because he's got very strong views on subjects, whether it's TRT injections or so many things that I've seen, which are all controversial things. So I'm saying you need that. There's no way they're going to kill that, because without that, he won't, he's selling to a lot of people because of that as well.
Yeah, 100%. That's why he has his popularity, right? Because he speaks stuff which other people don't.
Yeah. So anyway, whether honesty is the best policy or not, they made 5 billion apparently on the surge that happened in the market.
The stock market.
Yeah. So the punt was worth it already for them. What is 100 million?
No, it's not like they cashed it, right? I mean, the stock went up.
I know. But you feel good about yourself now, because people are thinking that the overvalue in the market, the value is bigger than the whole market itself, blah, blah, blah. And like you said, number 2 is nowhere in sight, which means it doesn't make any sense. It's like Tendulkar getting 100 crores and then Rahul Dravid getting 1 crore, which sadly or whatever may have been somewhat.
I mean, it's 190 million views, listens, downloads for Joe Rogan every month, right? 190 million. I mean, that's an insane number.
Yeah, that is. That's the whole of Pakistan, basically. And that's his viewership. I'll talk to Imran Khan, personal friend of mine, and I'll get this done. Right. Or should we just call up Joe Rogan and ask for a handout?
Well,
we'll just have a poster of Joe Rogan in the back. And we say, hey, Joe, we really like you. We watch your show. Accept all your views. Yes, hunting should be brought back. Kill everybody. We love you. And then maybe he'll look after us. A little pat on the back from time to time.
No, I'm open to a handout.
Are my business policies making sense?
Hey, I'm open to a handout. That's all I can say.
Well, I've lived off handouts. And the way the government's treating us, may have to live off handouts soon. Yeah. All right. So enough of Joe Rogan. The good Amit, as a podcaster, let's give you credit. You're the guy who started this business. I know we're always seeking funds and all that, but you started the business. Does this help or hinder you, this news?
I don't know. I think it helps in some ways because it, like you see this nice 100 million number written next to podcasting in the news. Yeah. So it helps in some ways. But at the same time, it's also if you look at the long-term health of the ecosystem, stuff which is sitting inside one platform exclusively, which is this popular, there are some dangers, right? I mean, this is not necessarily my view. This is a view that a lot of people have, right? What Spotify's play is to become basically the Facebook of podcasting in some ways. So what happens is that when it comes to the consumer web, Facebook and Google control all the advertising. All advertising happens through them. Because of that, maximum value in the ad chain is captured by them rather than the publisher, rather than the creators, right? And Spotify's goal in some ways is to become the same thing because now they're one place where brands can go and spend big money. But one of the problems with podcasting is that brands can't come and spend big money on podcasting. Right. So if you're a brand who wants to advertise in podcasting, you can spend if you want to advertise on our network, you spend a couple of lakhs. Right, a month. That's the kind of number you're looking at, right? Whereas most brands are not looking to spend a couple of lakhs a month because it creates a monitoring issue for them. They have to then start paying attention to what has happened to that couple of lakhs a month they spend. They want to spend tens of lakhs a month. Spotify gives them the ability to do that.
So suggest to our sponsors also to make it tens of lakhs and crores. Not a problem.
That's what I tell them. I tell them they should spend tens of lakhs with us.
Well, tell them louder.
I will do that.
Okay, listen. Shall we go to the AMAs?
Let's do that.
I think we've been freewheeling for about 40 minutes.
Do you have anything else?
Is there any topic for the week?
Just talking about alcohol being back. Delivery of alcohol has started.
Yeah.
So that's good news if you are still drinking, I guess.
Do you have a permit? Well, Cyrus doesn't drink anymore, but I guess, did you have a permit when you drank?
No, I have a permit still. I have 3 permits because when I was drinking, I had permits in every compartment. Like in my travel bag, I had a permit. I had a gym bag. I had a permit. Don't ask me why my gym bag had a permit, but it had. And my wallet, which I only take out when I travel. I don't carry a wallet. So, but I had the permit.
Okay.
But we could get it easily at the Bombay Gym, and these clubs would give it to you. You can get a day permit. A day permit. So you could get it in 5 minutes. They'll just give it to you, and then you drink or whatever.
Yeah, no, the clubs used to make it easier, but now, I mean, I've been reading about how complicated it is to make that permit on the online system that they have. Every, you have to make files which are less than 24 kilobyte image files and stuff like that.
All that.
To kind of get.
Looks like the central government is really after the liquor industry. Okay, which is basically state governed and state facilitated. But it looks like, if I might say so, they've smelt the money. Forget the morality.
Isn't it state by state determination in terms of what they're doing here?
Yeah, it is as of now.
So I don't follow your point then. How is the central government playing here?
The center will take over everything as far as the taxation and all goes. If they regulate everything through the center rather than through the states who give a slice of the pie to them, they control the whole thing because, I mean, there are states which are living off alcohol and I don't think there's a single state which isn't making a sizable...
Most of them are. It's a big chunk of everybody's revenue.
So let's face it, we're a bunch of drunkards. I've been saying this from the beginning. No one's listening to me.
Alcohol and tobacco, man. Those are 2 of our biggest tax things.
Yeah. And they're a beautiful concepts. Whoever invented them should have got the Padma Shri, but unfortunately it wasn't around at that time. The Shri, not them. But are we going to AMAs?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do that because I have to quickly talk to my wife. AMAs in a second.
Hey everybody, welcome to another week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Paytm Money. Do definitely check out our social media accounts. We've been doing some really cool stuff over there. There are a bunch of recommendations from hosts. I think you'll really enjoy the content that we're putting out there. And make sure you don't miss your favorite shows. Cyrus has been putting out some great stuff, as is the Pragati Podcast, all about policy. Has been doing some really, really fun stuff. The guys at Football Shitball and Football Twaddle are continuing to release episodes as well, which are really interesting. Best of S. Anupam's been having guest after guest, just killing it. Pulia Bazi's been doing so well. Postcards from Nowhere. All these shows are really, really doing well and really, really putting out great stuff. Appreciate the efforts that the hosts are putting in the lockdown, and I hope you guys are enjoying this stuff. And with that, let's continue with your show.
Follow me at Instagram and Twitter on Bored Brocha. I'm so bored, I need your help. I need your love. I need your touch. Okay, just follow me.
All right. Guys, the first one comes in from Sandeep Brahmankar. He sent in some feedback. He said, Dear Amit and the team at IBM, this is my first message. I have been listening to Cyrus says very often. I find that on many subjects, the speakers have very low knowledge often you add value and correct it. Since Cyrus is the fun guy, you do not expect him to be that informed. However, since the podcast is heard across the world, the responsibilities...
What a backhanded compliment for Cyrus.
What does he say?
So what he's saying is, what he's trying to say is, I mean, that's a waste of time. I'm a professional and that's what I've been advertising for years. If he's talking about the speakers who come on, and sometimes I presume beyond you two, the other speakers we have, I don't think that's completely true, but I suppose that's his opinion.
I don't think it's true at all. I mean, like, I don't think we call people on who we don't think have good things to say.
Like if you have an Amber Rana and he's talking about whatever he's talking about from a legal point of view, he may have certain prejudices, but he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's an argument. Yeah,
we try not to bring people who don't know what they're talking on, right? I mean, like, especially on Cock and Bull, right? Because I mean, this is
He goes on to say, just to give an example of your last podcast, the point that the government made on self-reliance, all of you went totally astray. Government now mentioned that global trade is not required. The point that Cyrus was saying, self-reliance means that we increase our manufacturing yield. So basically, he's just like small points. He's the
that's what the government insinuated.
Yeah,
that we can manage everything from ad hoc at home, going back to the whole desi sort of situation. It's playing to the jingoism again. It's playing to the galleries in a sense. I don't know. Whoever this gentleman's name, I take whatever he has to say as a very important piece of knowledge and information, and I throw it into the dustbin. But I asked the Democratic Forum. So, Silverie, it's good of you to bring it up. And if he writes in again, just,
don't read it.
Postal issues, happens, Wi-Fi breaks. I mean, come on, there are excuses for that. Do what I do. Just remove all the negativity from your house.
But to kind of like, engage with this question a little bit, right? I mean, I disagree. I mean, like, the fact is that you're right. The way that they put it across was buy local, do local, do this, right? It was not just to say that.
Self-reliance and self-sustenance are two different things.
Correct.
Yeah. If you're talking about how to sustain yourself in terms of simple things like the house and all, that's different. Self-reliance actually talks to the business community, manufacturing, production, entrepreneurship, trade, commerce, all this. And there's a sense of jingoism saying that we are bigger than everyone. We will solve COVID virus first. We will lock down more severely. We will do our own dealings in business. We will live like China in a little world and we will survive. And that's the feeling we got. And perhaps we play to the other side sometimes with our philosophy. But having said that, I think it was pretty clear that there's a lot of emotional content going into that. To say, come on, Indians, Desh ki dharti, let's do it all. Just use the dharti, don't go outside it. That's it. I think that's a well-found point. But it's more than fair on his part to disagree. It's more than fair on his part to critique. And it's more than fair on his part to call me an idiot and a bakwasi. All three I'm proud of. And but the guests, I think it's a bit unfair because generally the guests even answer questions which they are totally non-aligned to in the AMAs.
Right.
And they still are pretty sporting about it. So I will fight for my guests. They may not dress well, and some of them don't put on deodorant when they should. But having said that, I think they're pretty informed on their subject and generally the world around them. I mean, who's that well aware of the world around? We have this COVID and no one's come up with a solution. So having said that, I will now plead the fifth, is it? Yeah.
Although I will say that I don't think this guy meant it as anything offensive. He just literally just giving feedback of a show he actually enjoys.
But he poked the bear. And by bear, I mean
absolutely.
He poked the bear. No. Jokes apart, let's just be clear. Let people criticize. I think it's wonderful. Discourse, discussion, dissent.
Yeah.
That's what you need. The 3 Ds to make a democracy. So the fact is that he's not going off the podcast saying you guys are which is what he should have done. But he's actually coming and saying, okay, I don't like this, I don't like that. I have no problem with that. I think it's better. It's a more healthy relationship. I hate goody-goodies and sissies and those people who are all perfect and politically correct all the time. They don't, that's all wrong. It can't be.
Yeah.
So it's a waste of time. So I think he'll remain a listener. And we embrace him and hug him tight.
It's good to have listeners who come across from a variety of points of views, right? And I think that it's fair. Yeah. I mean, like, this people do believe this, right? There are a lot of people who do believe about the importance of local manufacturing and local market support more than anything else. I don't, but there are a lot of people who do.
But Amit, they are talking from a specific point of view of their business going under because the big guy is coming in from outside and things that's a very localized personal thing.
Right.
This is a whole gamut of emotions saying that we chest out, 56 inches of chest, put it out there and fight on. It was more that. So far, it's been a lot of that. If I look at all the speeches and I dissect them, it's all about Manmohan Desai film sort of style, which I don't mind. It's like Churchillian. Churchill's speeches were very much trying to evocate people to fight in the war and to believe that they will outlast the Germans. So I understand that part, but I'm saying you do that. You lift the spirits, and then there's also got to be a plan. There's also got to be logic. There's also got to be a proper procedure, and we have to have exits. from whatever we're doing. If planning doesn't work, we have to have plan B. I don't understand. Are you going to just, like an ostrich, put your head in the sand and just keep it there, think that it'll go, just lock down, it'll go, 1 more week, it'll go, 1 more week, it'll go? Hell, nothing's going. Oh, okay. Let's stay with the AMAs.
Now that was a rant.
Well, I'm not the only frustrated Indian in this country, or rather global citizen for that matter. A lot of people are just pained. But I just somehow, because, the psychophancy irritates me after some time. I like the way he's criticized us. He's almost symbolic of what I would see for the world to be a better place, which is people questioning. You just don't question enough. Why can't we question? Why do we have to clap all the time? Question. It doesn't mean Modi is a bad guy. Doesn't mean he's wrong about many policies. He's right about some. He's wrong about some. He's human. So if you don't like what he's done, and after some time it's not working, it's not personal. It's not like you want to assassinate somebody. It's just that it's not working. If Uddhav is not performed, I mean, they are not even the same party. I'm irritated now. Right now, I don't want to come for dinner. And 1 month back, I liked him and I said, come for dinner. Now I don't, because I'm irritated and I'm not the only one. That's all I'm saying. Why can't we question? If we can't question, what's the point? So kudos to the gentleman who wrote in. Please question.
And we should be able to change our minds also, which I think is also important.
Yes.
Right? I think that is...
How are you a hypocrite if you went from A to B? Life is about going from A to B. Who stays A all their life? Not positive, negative, not in terms of HIV or anything. Don't be ridiculous. I apologize. Don't be insensitive.
All right, you have said that you had some lighter questions.
Yeah.
This was the heaviest moment of our show.
Sorry.
I've nearly had a rant orgasm.
Okay, this next one is sent in by Prabuddha Avasarala. Prabuddha sends in, hey everyone, hope you all are doing well. Have you guys been following the whole YouTube versus TikTok saga? If yes, what are your thoughts on it? Have you guys been following this? Are you guys aware of this?
I don't understand.
That pertains to the first question. You don't know what you're talking about, so I'm going to keep quiet.
I'm somewhat aware of it, right? I mean, like there was the Fezzu versus
Carrie
Minati stuff going on, right?
Yeah, that was long ago. Even I know that.
So that was the inciting incident. No? Since then, TikTokers are talking about YouTube and YouTubers are talking about TikTok.
It's a class thing, isn't it?
It's even worse because Carrie Minati's followers have been giving terrible reviews to TikTok to the point where their rating had gone down to 1.6.
Okay.
With over like, I don't know, what 2 billion downloads or something, or 10 billion downloads, whatever their download numbers are. After all of that, their rating is 1.6, which was crazy.
So YouTube is winning the war.
It seems like it, yeah.
I think it's different audiences, right? In some ways, the engagement on TikTok is ludicrous, right? I mean, like you see some of that stuff is crazy.
Why can't we go to TikTok?
Well, we can go to TikTok, but we have to make like that 15-second content now, which we're not really doing. Our content is like hour long.
But we can make 15-second content in a second. Silverie, you say yes, I'll say no. You say yes, I'll say no, and we'll put it on.
But I mean, like, we can do TikTok. I mean, like, we should be looking at doing some TikTok soon. I mean, like, but it's difficult to do that when we're in, like, we have to figure out how to kind of put that across. How do we get our brand into TikTok in the right way? I think that's interesting. But, I mean, like, these are stupid fights, right? I mean, there used to be the Snapchat versus Instagram fight, and, like, there are the different influencers.
It reminds me, in our day of MTV versus Channel V or Coke versus Pepsi, I think it's just human nature to take sides and just pontificate from different... It's okay when there's no coronavirus, because it looks ridiculous at the moment.
No, but you're right. It's tribalism, right? I mean, like, you form your
tribalism.
Yeah.
See, we know what we're talking about. Note to self. Yeah. Okay.
What else you got on Antariksh?
Okay, one last one. Sent in by Ruben David. He says, hi, Cyrus, Amit and Silverie. This is Ruben from Hyderabad, and I discovered the world of podcasts.
Hyderabad! Noel David, the cricketer, is from Hyderabad, so he must be related. Ruben David, Noel David. See how quickly I picked it up? Fabulous. I'm like a stalker in the cricket world. Monty Panesar, here's my call. Cyrus, that guy. Dang.
Okay, I guess Ruben can send in if he's actually related to the cricketer. That'll be amazing if he is. So this is Ruben from Hyderabad, and I discovered the world of podcast and your show during the lockdown, and I've been listening backwards from latest to episode 460 so far. The show keeps me company during my evening job. I've heard Cyrus complain about a particular uncle in his building, and I'm dealing with a similar situation. There is this retired uncle who has to correct everyone. He rings my bell at odd hours to tell me I have parked my bike.
That has double meaning. Don't say that.
He rings my bell. He rings my bell at odd hours to tell me I have parked my bike on a side stand in my own private parking space and waves frantically to me when I ride my motorcycle to indicate the light is on. when automatic headlights on is mandatory for all two-wheelers after 2017 anyway? What do I do with him?
So this is not about the issue ever. This is my study of the subject. And that is, there are certain people, especially males, who become redundant after some time because they no longer work. In my case, in the building, the guy's wife left him, kids left him, everything. So he's just vicious and evil. A lot of malice in him. No empathy for anybody. And above all, they feel redundant because their work life, their reason for living, their meaning in life is gone. And because of that, these little things start becoming important to them. So they become busybodies, trying to always correct people and catch people. And this is the fault, in a way, in society, it has to be corrected from outside them. Which is, you have to get people, like when I get older, or Amit gets older, for Amit it'll be 2 years from now, for me maybe 5. We need to find other things to do with our lives. Supposing we can pay our bills, we need to find some purpose, because otherwise we'll become like them. And it's horrible. They are horrible people. And I don't know, I feel really bad for the guy because he's, just such a stupid thing. What kind of does that? Just nothing else to do. When he's not trying to, pay bills, get his work life in order, get his love life in order, look after his kids' education, deal with government issues and all. When you don't have normal problems, you become an idiot. So thank God for normal problems.
Did you see Veer Das's issues?
Yeah, exactly. That's the guy. The brother of Mr. Rubin, neighbor, and my neighbor. They're all the same. They're one tribe of... Yeah. I mean, what is wrong with that guy? That Veer Das issue? It's one thing he got irritated about the mask. But this is another thing people wear your mask, wear your mask. Okay, there's a way to say things, The guy sitting outside his house or whatever, we can debate whether right or wrong of that. But I'm saying, you don't have to just stand there like some official. Because how is it ever going to go well when people go, hey, wear your mask?
Nobody's going to listen to you when you talk. The guy was sneezing on him and stuff like that.
That comes later. It started with him, but he's picking a fight for... There's some backstory to all this.
There's some backstory to it, yes.
To do with him not inheriting the building and not liking the tenants and all that. I don't know. From what I know of Veer Das, I've only met him 3 or 4 times. He's a very quiet guy. He's not extroverted. He's extroverted on stage. He's like Kunal. He's introverted and soft-spoken. Not the guy who picks fights. That would be me. So, I don't see him really doing anything wrong. I see this guy just behaving like those uncles who have nothing in their life, and when there's no meaning in your life, you make a big deal, much ado about nothing, as Shakespeare said. I do know something about Shakespeare. Just for the critics. So, yeah, that's it. I mean, why are we wasting our breath on this, defending them? This is a societal thing. We have to, especially for males, if you look at Australians or the West or Japanese, Korean, they all have something that they do as they retire. They retire beautifully. At 60, they're gardeners, and they're huge into gardening. Or karate, or whatever the hell it is, I don't care. But you have some purpose. Or you teach children. I mean, you can teach English to poor kids. I mean, you can do so much.
I think it's a global phenomenon, though, right? I mean, we make fun of RWA uncles over here. Yeah. People in the US make fun of HOA as busybodies, right? I mean, it's a global situation, right? I mean, I think that, and I don't even necessarily know that, it's an age thing. In some cases it is. In our cases, I know in my building's case, in your building's case,
okay, if you don't want to look at it from age thing, it's a point of being redundant, of having nothing in your life. It starts from that.
But I'm somewhat a little more sympathetic to people who actually do participate in these housing societies and stuff like that, right? Because it's a thankless job in many ways. It's a job I will never touch. I've been asked multiple times, will you be part of the society? I'm like, hell no, right? Because it's just, I don't want to be having that level of, where people are coming to you for all this stuff all the time. Also, it's... do you know any building housing society where the managing committee has not been accused of being corrupt?
Yeah, all that shit will fly. Yeah,
it always keeps happening, right? So it's a very thankless job.
So power corrupts as well. It's both two sides to the coin. People change the moment they have some sense of officialdom and start becoming. I don't know why that happens. With guy in your class in school, the same thing happens. Riaz Kopti, lovely boy. They made him monitor and he would, please give your homework on time.
No, but I see, like in my building, I see this, right? That, I mean, the people who are accusing people of stealing like 3,000 rupees a month. And I'm like, dude, seriously, you think that anybody...
When the minimum requirement is 4,000.
I mean, like, are people who own a flat in this building, which is, we're a cheap building for South Bombay, but we're still a South Bombay building, right? I mean, like, are these people really going to... Yeah, are they going to steal 3,000 rupees? Are they really going to do that? Are they going to try and take a kickback from...
Going back to your metaphor, I'm distracted by it. So you're saying you're the Bade Mia of the Kulaba eateries, is it? I mean, you're there, we know you, but you're cheap compared to some of the big guns.
I think that's a good way to look at it, right? I live in the area. I live in the neighborhood. I have the benefit of living in the neighborhood, but I don't live in like the high-priced.
I think you've taken this small point and broadened it a bit, and I hear what you say. because it is about all kinds of people. But I look at it more selectively at the uncles who are retired, nothing to do, because they all have the same commonality. The gentleman, the Veerdas episode, the one I mentioned, the one Mr. Rubin is mentioned in the letter. And then you talk to people. They all, buildings across India, it's not Mumbai or South Mumbai or something like that. They just don't have anything to do, and that drives them mad. And then they just have to keep doing this.
Yeah.
So I'm saying make them into watchmen. We always have a paucity of watchmen. Good watchman is hard to find. This old uncle should be given a nice little uniform and a cap and a small stick and told to stand there. Then at least people will respect him more when he starts shouting, "Oh, uska kaam hai." It's like that.
Fair enough.
But Mr. Rubin, if you're listening, I got not Rubin David. So Mr. David, if you're listening, I apologize firstly after making the connection with Noel David. Hope you're related. Didn't get his due. Went to West Indies. Should have played more. Fabulous fielder, by the way. Now that we bring it up. But I totally empathize with you completely. I don't know what to say. Maybe we have to try another approach with these guys. But they make you feel sick after some time because they seem to lack sensitivity to other people. After a point, people are having a bad day. I just don't understand officialdom. I just don't understand people who shout at you.
Dude,
how do you expect human nature to react well? Are we 2 years old or 3? Okay, in my case, you can debate that. But generally speaking.
See, I have to be grateful right now. He's letting my air conditioning guy come in tomorrow.
Oh, right. Okay,
I'm grateful right now.
You be. Because the AC is above everything else.
Yes,
For the price of an AC being fixed, I will change my political viewpoint like this. Oh, God. This is the greatest invention. I've said it on your show right in the beginning. For me, the greatest invention of all time, the air conditioning. And from a tropical country, you have to accept that this is a truth, not a joke.
Yeah, no,
it's an
we need
actual
them.
Truth.
It's hard without it, man.
People ask me all the time, would you keep your AC or your wife? How much I laugh. Okay, she doesn't listen, but she's a lovely girl. Oh, by the way, it's her birthday next week. June 3rd. It's our first family birthday in the lockdown.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
going to be fun for the whole family.
Yeah, have a party, man. Are you going to do a Zoom party?
No, I think I'll give her the room to herself. That's what you do after 20 years to make the spouse happy. Yeah. All right, guys. So I'll see you soon.
Yes.
Something or the other. And if any of you all know Monty Panesar, please contact him. We're coming after him. His book is called The Full Monty. I want to talk to him. I'm a big fan. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps, please. We beg you. We need you. Send us your questions on Twitter on Cyrus Says In. Or you can email us, even if you're not female, on whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
Entertainment is like food for the brain. It's a window to culture and a great way to understand the world around us. The internet has changed what it means to be an entertainer, creating new storytellers with millions of fans. It has spawned a new breed, the story sellers, those behind the scenes creating the business for this ecosystem. They work with brands, platforms and channels who are keen to capitalize on an audience hungrier than ever for more stories. I'm Vineet Kanabar, and I have a ringside view to how stories are told and sold. On my show, I bring you creators, artists, executives, and marketers for a freewheeling conversation around the business of entertainment. Tune in to Storytellers and Story Sellers for personal stories, analysis, and criticism every Thursdays as I talk to the brightest minds telling or selling great stories today.
Filter coffee is a fascinating beverage. You need to pick the right beans, blend them in the right proportion, roast them to perfection, and slow brew at the right temperature to get the perfect cup. Which is exactly like great conversations as well. You need to track down the most interesting minds, get them into their zone, and settle down for an unhurried, unscripted chat. And coffee for me is always, always, always best enjoyed with friends. I'm Karthik Nagarajan, and do share my table as I meet some of the most interesting people I know and sit them down for a strong cup of coffee and an even stronger conversation. Join me every Wednesday for a freshly brewed episode. This is not frappe. This is the Filter Coffee Podcast.